great passing opportunity as it is hard on the brakes, but be careful, it is downhill. And then you go all the way up to the other side of the racetrack, past the Rahal Straight, the Corkscrew, turn number 8, one of the most famous corners in all of motorsports, and it is all downhill from there, from turn 8 through turn 9, the rainy curve, and of course the heavily cambered turn number 10, and then turn number 11 always sets us up for fireworks potentials of a last turn pass.
So with that and the drivers out on the first of 2 pace laps, let's go through our starting grid for today's race. And it's certainly going to be interesting considering we've got a couple of first-time winners out there returning to try to back themselves up. Brandon Hankins on the pole. He was one of those that took his first ever win for the season yesterday afternoon. Chris Belomo is back starting from pole for the Masters, but outside of the overall front row. Then on row number 2, you've got Scott Blend. He won yesterday in that Masters category, and he'll be starting from 3rd overall today. 4th goes to Jim Walsh next to him. From there, Daniel Hanley starts in 5th today. After that, it is Mark Wilkes in the 6th position. And then we've got Jake Chu returning to see if he can back up that podium starting from 7th. Dusek will be starting in 8th in the number 251. Josh Conley on the inside of the next row, starting from 9th, and then Mark Krigler in the 10th position. And then Alessandro Chiacchieri will round out your GT3 Cup cars in 11th.
And then we go over to our Cayman field. Your pole sitter in the Masters class is going to be Greg Checky in the yellow and white number 72. Lined up next to him is your pole sitter in the Pro-Am class. That is Jack Perriott in the number 73 car. Yesterday's Pro-Am winner going to roll off 3rd overall. That's Anna Checky in the blue and white number 27. Tom Rogers is lined up next to her in 4th in that Cayman class. Greg Herback is rolling off 5th with Henry Marshall next to him in the 6th place. Paul Bonderson in 7th with Tim Smith rounding out our 8-car Cayman GT4 field.
Joey, we were talking a lot between each other about how this is going to race here today because, like I said in the intro, not quite wet, not quite dry. What do you do as a driver?
You have to be careful, and I think that having 2 pace laps out here is great for the information level, right? The drivers can kind of go out there and do the tire scrubbing that they're used to, but they're also trying to test the grip level of the tires and of the racetrack. Also, when it is wet like this, you have the moisture in the air, you have the moisture on the racetrack, you see all of those painted curbs, they are going to be incredibly slippery. In the dry, you want to maximize the width of this racetrack, and it actually looks like we already have a car around on our second pace lap that is coming out of turn number 6 and another car around as well. So that just exemplifies how slippery it is on this racetrack on dry tires.
Narrowly avoiding the tire barrier as well on the inside of turn 6, that second car. Trying to make out who that is. That might be Belomo, I think, in the red and white machine, as I think that's Wilgus in the other car, getting it going. So thankfully, we didn't have any damage out of that, but definitely scary.
You know, the 2 white and red cars are Hanley and Hankins.
Oh.
I really hope this is not Brandon Hankins. He had a rough time with the start yesterday. He was our pole sitter and ended up winning overall, but fingers crossed that is not the 295. Couldn't make out the car number. Looks like we're going to get everybody by, and it was the 295 of Brandon Hankins.
Wow. So we start the clock. So the race has officially started now. 35 minutes plus a lap if you're not familiar with the format here in Sprint Challenge. But because of those incidents, they have extended an extra pace lap. They're going to carry on, I imagine, at least one more before we get going. Shouldn't need too much more than that since the cars are still running.
And I think this is a good call. We just want to make sure all the temperatures are up to spec out there and make sure the drivers are all good. And Joe, I am hearing word that this is the plan, is that we want to make sure that we've got a dry racetrack, a confident racetrack that the drivers can go out there and race on. So we're probably going to do maybe one lap, maybe another one under these yellow flag conditions. You see the pace car lights are still on here in turn number 5. So I think all we're doing is we're cleaning up the track, making sure it's ready to go.
Now remember, this is the beginning rung on the Porsche ladder system, so these are drivers that are still cutting their teeth, and you can see that lights are off on the pace car, so that's a good sign. We should be getting going this time by. But yeah, this is essentially helpful and educational for the drivers, Joey, so that, like you said, top-tier drivers, you'd probably just send them out and go, but they need some time to just gather as much as they can.
Well, I think the bigger kind of headache that might be happening right now is that these GT3 Cup cars are making their way back up through the field, at least the Cayman GT4s here, which is important, right? You want the true split class start, but I'm sure race control is on the radio with those teams saying they probably need to slot in and where they need to slot in.
Yeah, that was the other thing I wondered, is do they give them their positions back, or do they have to line up at the back of the field? And it looks like, as you shake your head, no, yeah, they are currently lined up at the back of the GT3 Cup cars. With rain spattered on the cameras out here, it is going to be a difficult one. They come around the final corner looking for the green flag as the pace car is in. Nice rows all the way down. We're watching from the flag stand here. They're holding them for a little while, and there it is. Green flag is out. Belomo is going to lead them down as our pole sitter starts from the back instead, coming down into Andretti hairpin. A little bit of 3 wide for our Cayman cars into the first hairpin. So far, so good. Everybody creeping around trying to take care.
Yeah, that Cayman GT4 start got going a little bit earlier than those GT3 Cup cars and kind of merged into the back of the field. And now all of these drivers, like I said, are tiptoeing around this Laguna Seca racetrack, testing out those grip levels on our first green flag lap.
Belomo leads Blend. Hanley moves up to third, though, so good start for him. This is a chance for him to strike back after he lost the points lead yesterday in the Pro-Am Championship up through turn 5. Now what about turn 6, Joey? This is where we had 2 cars spin.
I would definitely be careful. Look at all the rain on the lens here in this corner, and you see the cars definitely taking it easy here on this first-time lap, and Scott Blend is now going to be overtaking. We've got another call in the wall. I think that's Brandon Hankins once again in turn number 6.
Oh, it's been his Achilles heel on this early start of the race. A glancing blow against the tires, but the car is still rolling last we saw. Let's hope that he can keep it moving. We're still green at this stage, 31 minutes plus a lap to go. It's been a horrible contrast to yesterday.
And we did see that he was able to keep it rolling. He's down through the corkscrew section right now, so he has essentially lost a ton of track position. But Scott Blend is your new leader in that black number 245 after overtaking Chris Belomo going up into the corkscrew, and he's already starting to pull it out.
We're getting word in our ear that there is a little bit of damage on the car. No wonder, since he did make contact with that tire barrier. Blend now leading ahead of Belomo. An aggressive move at the start to get him the lead. As we fly down through the first few corners, they're now a little bit more spread apart. Everybody can have a chance to focus on what they're doing instead of everybody around them.
And you're right, Hankins is still out on the track. He's kind of the caboose on the overall train. Saw that rear bumper kind of flapping in the breeze, but it is a top 2 breakaway. Really where the race is third place overall. That's Daniel Hanley. He's got Jim Walsh and company threatening going up turn number 5.
Now remember, Hanley racing in the Pro-Am, Jim Walsh racing in the Masters, so that would not be for a points-paying position. But he needs that between himself and Jake Chu, who runs second in the Pro-Ams, directly behind Jim Walsh. Out of turn 6 once again. A few little squiggles from some of the cars. Oh, we got a Cayman getting a little bit sideways. Coming
there's
off
another
the corner.
one. Yeah, and I think that was Jack Perriott. So there was first Greg Herback and then Jack Perriott. And we've been talking about turn number 6 being a make or break corner all weekend long, especially in the dry. But in the wet, it is even more treacherous. You have the car hitting that hard compression, and it can easily overload the car in these conditions.
And to tell you how tough it is, Greg Checky is 8th overall, and he's running in the Caymans. He's leading that category right now, but he is in and amongst the GT3 Cup cars. He is just performing an outstanding race right now.
I feel like if you're comfortable with car control and it's slip and sliding around underneath you, you will excel in these types of conditions. So Greg Checky taking full advantage as I see one of the Cup cars getting underneath him there in turn number 2. I have a feeling as this racetrack starts to dry out, we're going to see that performance difference a little bit more. But one thing that's different than we saw yesterday in the Cayman GT4s, we actually have the Checkies lined up nose to tail this time.
And you make a good point about the track drying up, the changeable conditions, the grip levels probably going to be different from lap to lap out there.
100% they are. I mean, just for example, our leader, the last lap time, a 1:34. We've seen about 1:28s, maybe even 1:26s out of these GT3 Cup cars in qualifying. So they still have a lot of time to pick up as we ride on board here with Anna Checky going up into the corkscrew.
Getting a first-person perspective of that leader in the Pro-Am. In fact, sitting as they finished last race, just behind her dad, Greg Checky, took a double win for their family. And they're still in that position here early stages of this race. 9th and 10th overall still. But Jack Perriott is the next one down behind them, only back by about 0.4 of a second.
And I think that Anna actually has some pressure from Jack Perriott that you were just mentioning. He is right on the bumper going through what is turn number 11, the final corner here at this racetrack. But crucially, this blue and white car got the exit she needed to. She's gapped it out by, call it 5, maybe 10 car lengths in the most important part on the straightaway.
So that's where she needs to be far enough away to prevent an attack, although he looks good under brakes. Jack Perriott closing back in, down into that hairpin. Just couldn't quite take advantage. And to complicate things, Mark Krigler is behind them, and he's not even in the Caymans. He's in the 992 Cup cars. He's just trying to make up for earlier mistakes and needs to try and get by these cars, but doesn't want to interrupt a battle for the lead.
Yeah, it's a pretty busy battle there for mid-pack in the GT3 Cup cars, and this is that Cayman GT4 battle. So that's Jack Perriott there in the black, white, and red machine chasing Anna Checky heading up the hill here to turn number 6 as we get these beautiful shots of this drying Laguna Seca racetrack. And once again, Jack Perriott just barely hanging on to the car at the exit of turn 6.
Oh, good save. And it keeps him in it, but he's going to lose a little bit of distance now up to his class leader. Not a lot, though, from what we can see in our shots. He's still right there behind and keeping the pressure on for Anna Checky. Wants to make up for the loss of the win yesterday. I mean, I got the impression from your interview with him on the podium, Joey, that he seemed a little disappointed.
Well, I think he just wants to go faster, right? I think he wants to stand on top there, and he's certainly putting the pressure on as we actually ride on board here with Jack Perriott in the number 73. I do see on timing and scoring as well that Jim Walsh finally got by Daniel Hanley, so that was kind of the cork in the train. So Jim is now free to try to chase down his Masters class competitors as Jack continues to put the pressure on Anna.
Interesting that he could recover so quickly after that scary moment through turn 6. So that's great from Jack Perriott. He's clearly very focused and attuned to his goal out there. 25 minutes plus a lap to go now. So we're quickly getting through this race. Dusek even gets by Hanley, so now Hanley has nothing but between himself and Jake Chu for the lead in the Pro-Ams. And Old Age and Treachery has been winning out today because our top 4 are all Masters drivers.
It's experience definitely pays off in these conditions, and like I said, if you're comfortable with the car slip sliding around underneath you, you will really excel. I always loved these types of conditions because you get to slide the car, you get to put it on the absolute limit, and you just kind of have to dance it there. If you can keep it on that absolute limit, you're going to be fast.
I was watching Dusek there. He is right behind Jim Walsh. That's going to be a tight battle for a podium position there. And Jim was on that podium yesterday. Can he repeat that with that orange car absolutely filling his mirrors? In the meantime, there's a defense coming down into the penultimate turn from Anna Checky, having to hold back on Jack Perriott. In fact, she's going to overtake her dad, and he is going to have to act as a rear gunner.
Yeah, and I wonder if something happened with Greg Checky this lap because he was significantly out in front and definitely had a huge bobble, but now he slots into the second place as, it looks like a couple of these Cup cars are side by side. I believe that's Dusek and Walsh going into turn number 3 as our Cayman GT4 field now fields its way through the Andretti hairpin.
We expected this was going to be a chaotic one. We've been riding on board with Jack Perriott here. I'm seeing a ton of sawing at the wheel. He wants to get by Greg Checky, but no doubt Greg is happy to play a rear guard for his daughter, who now leads overall in the Caymans.
Well, and here's the thing that I'm really wondering. It's up to each of these teams on what tires they want to start with. I figure everybody would start with dry tires, but I wonder if there was some gambling out there. Greg Checky was very, very fast in those opening couple of laps when it was very mixed conditions. It might just kind of be that confidence booster you need, but what happens if you are on wet tires and now you've overheated them?
You're right about Walsh being overtaken. Dusek now sitting in third. Something may have happened to Chiacchetti because I thought I saw him dropping down on our timing sheets, but not getting any visual on that now. And in the meantime, it is a tight pack, essentially from third on well down through much of the 992s.
Watch these cars as they feed their way through turn number 10 here. You see how much natural banking is built into the racetrack right there, and then, of course, it leads you up into this final corner, and I think I actually see that there's still that battle, Dusek versus Walsh, going down into turn number 1 as Greg Checky just continues to lose pace to Anna.
Yeah, but that car going by is Wilkes, so that's not in the class, but Anna is way far away. You're right. And interesting that Perriott has not been able to do anything with this, too. He was so close to her for so long.
I also think we've got a couple of these GT3 Cup cars mixed in with the Cayman GT4, so that might be putting the Jack kind of on the back foot. He's got to worry about what's in the rearview mirror with a higher performing car as well as trying to attack out the front. Remember, we do still have 22 minutes, so he could just kind of be letting the race come to him as well.
So that, I believe the orange car that we see in amongst those GT4s is Chiacchetti, so he's still working his way back forward. But so is Hankins and Krigler from that incident at the very start of the race. They're only just now trying to overtake our leaders.
Yeah, they definitely got shuffled back there in the track position, but I look at timing and scoring right now. Literally every single car that has gone through Sector 1 has put down a personal best lap time. Sector 2 looks very, very similar. Sector 3, actually, Scott Blend just put in the overall best sector time of the race so far. So this tells me the track is starting to dry out. The drivers, they're starting to kind of push the limits a little bit more.
The numbers tell the tale for sure. So the track is getting faster, and it's a question of who can utilize that speed better than those around them. And again, adaptability. That's the word I used earlier.
Looks like we're 3 wide on the front straightaway. I think that's Herback, Perriott, and Checky. And I actually think that's Tom Rogers making his way up through the inside. And he did a double overtake. And now Jack Perriott's going to make contact at the second apex of turn number 2. Muscle his way back by.
Jack's not messing around. I think Rogers tries to come back at the driver that is in his class, and that's going to be Greg Checky, but unable to retake that lead. Again, that's lead in the Masters that they're fighting for. But now Perriott has been freed. Can he go and run down Anna Checky, who distanced herself very well in the time that she had?
That was a tense moment. I mean, talk about some awesome racing with 3 wide up the front straightaway, and then it definitely got into that funnel there in turn number 2. Got the elbows out a little bit, but it was pretty cool seeing a double pass, and then all of a sudden it went back.
It's not looking too far between Jack and Anna on our shots here. I think he's already making up time. Yeah, look at that. He is getting right on top of her now. It's a recovering Jack Perriott looking for revenge for yesterday after losing the Pro-Am win.
That car that we're talking about that he's chasing is that blue and white number 27 of Anna Checky. She has done a tremendous job yesterday hanging on to that Pro-Am class win after starting a little bit further back in the pack, and this time she got to start up front in the front 2 rows of this Cayman GT4 race, and she's been able to manage that Pro-Am lead.
Before it gets exciting here, I just want to give a quick mention. Scott Blend still leads in the 992 Masters, and Josh Conley right now is our leader ahead of Hanley. I think that has since changed when we last looked at it over in the Pro-Ams, but haven't had as much action as we've had here. This has where the fun has been down in the Caymans, as now we have our Pro-Am drivers leading in that Cayman class. Greg Checky leading in the Masters directly behind them.
I think we're going to kind of have this seesaw of performance levels for the remaining 20 minutes of this race, because off a peak performance, we're still about 3 to 5 seconds off of those best lap times that we've seen all weekend long. That means it is still varying grip levels. The drivers are having to figure out where it's a little bit drier, where it's a little bit more slippery. Oh, and now we got a car around. I believe that's Tom Rogers at the exit of turn number 6. He is in the gravel trap, but he's rolling. He's still going to keep his foot in the gas and make his way back out onto the racetrack. Nice job not getting stuck.
Okay, I was going to say, we went completely green last time, and while we don't have that this time technically, since we had the green flag at the start of the racing here today, we haven't had any full course cautions, so knocking on wood once again. We've got 18 minutes plus a lap left to go. Rogers, who is still close enough, he could be a threat to Greg Checky, is fallen all the way back to 4th in class. Meanwhile, Belomo is quickest of anybody in the first sector, and he is sitting second behind Scott Blend. It is about a second and a half between them. He's still within range. He could reel him back in.
And actually, the last couple laps, he's been faster than our leader. So can Chris Belomo go up there and challenge Scott Blend? When we talked to him after the race yesterday, Scott said, I don't know if I've got enough pace to go up there and chase down Brandon Hankins for an overall win. But guess what? It's a different competitor. It's a different car out there. All he's got to do is hold off Chris Belomo. But we remember how good, how successful Chris has been in this series in history.
And, I mean, like you were talking about earlier, experience means so much. You look at those two compared to the rest. It is another 8 seconds between P2 and P3 in the Cup cars right now. So it's a massive gap up at the front. They're running away, but they're clearly having to push. As now Chris Belomo has the fastest lap of anybody, the first to crack under the 130s.
Yeah, and it was a full 3/4 of a second faster than that black number 245 leading the race, as it looks like maybe a little bit of side-by-side. I think that was Hanley and Wilgus up the front straightaway here as they dive down into turn number 2.
So coming around the outside, I'm not sure if Hanley can hold on to this one. It's going to switch gears into turn 3, slower and right-hander, as we take a look at our overall leader, Scott Blend, up the hill. There is Belomo looking ever closer behind him. He is down to 8/10 and continuing to gain.
And we ride on board now with Chris Belomo chasing down our leader, and it's just been fractions of a second earlier in this race, but the last 2 laps he has taken out chunks. It was about a 1.8 second gap 2 laps ago, and like you said, Joe, now it's down to about 3/4 of a second. Scott is well aware of that car in his mirror.
No doubt about it. He's going to have to try and play defense here in the remaining half of the race. We are halfway through this one now, so he's got a lot of work ahead of him if this trend continues between the two and he keeps reeling him in. Gap is back up to 9/10 across the last marker. Let's see what it is at the start-finish line between them. Down to 8/10, so just about hovering 8 to 9/10 between them over the last lap.
I always love getting the shots of all the data acquisition that we have inside these race cars, and look at how much ground Belomo ate up out of our leader in the apex of turn number 2. Now, yesterday we noticed that Scott Blend was really going in deep into turn number 2, and this time might have bit him a little bit as Chris was once again able to shave that gap, just brings himself that little bit closer to our leader.
And if Chris has been taking notes, what's the word we've been hearing from Blend all weekend long? I'm losing time in the corkscrew. That's my weak point. I'm trying to figure out how to be faster there. Is that where he can pull a surprise maybe on our leader.
It certainly could be. I think that if I'm the following car right now, that's what you're evaluating. Am I better in the corkscrew? Am I better in turn number 2? Can I roll more speed through the downhill? That's what you're evaluating right now, trying to set up your pass for when you actually catch them. Remember, you want to pass when they're on the back foot, and the best pass that I always say that you can make is actually forcing somebody else into his mistake. So maybe it's just going up there and starting to apply a lot more pressure.
Make them do the work for you. But right now he hasn't been close enough. He keeps kind of getting in there on certain corners, and then it starts to go back away as Blend utilizes his strengths to retake some ground on the battlefield. They'll flash across the line once again. It is still at about 0.8 of a second. They're looking very equally matched at this stage.
Now we ride on board here, and this was the corner last lap where I really felt that this number 286 was able to eat up some ground, but it seems like Scott Blend was able to kind of rectify that, and looking at those last lap times, Scott was able to match Chris. So we've been talking about how he's been taking these big chunks of time out. Got to remember, Scott Blend can go up there and do the same thing. They're only turning 129s. These cars in qualifying were turning 126s. I believe Pole was in the 125. So there is still more grip out there. There is still more performance for both drivers to go out there and get. They just have to find it.
I mean, if I'm honest and I look at our camera shots around the track, it does look like there is a drier line out there. Somebody has gotten down to the 128.6, and that somebody is Dusek in the 251 car.
He's about 7.5 seconds back, so by no means a threat to our overall lead, but I think it's just an example. And if you're a crew chief and you're seeing that on timing and scoring, you can tell your driver, be like, all right, well, guess what? The cars behind you, they're actually going faster, so go find the speed.
Meanwhile, Jim Walsh also starting to pick up pace in the middle sector, it looks like, in the 269. He wants that second place back. It has cut down from what was about 8 seconds between the top two to P3, I should say, is about 7.5 seconds now. So, yeah, they are catching them just a little bit.
And crucially, Blend and Belomo did pick up the pace to a 128, but Jim Walsh now sets the fastest lap of the race at a 127. So the cars in third and fourth overall for the big picture are actually the fastest cars on the racetrack. I just think that it's about a 7.5 second gap. It's too much ground to try to eat up when you're that close together, but that still means our lead battle can get incredibly close.
It's fascinating how our fastest lap has gone from first to second to third to fourth now. Kind of makes me wonder, if you're the car behind observing, you can pick up a lot from that car ahead potentially and maybe know where you can be faster.
That's a great point as well. It's kind of the carrot out there, and if the carrot is a little bit wide and really slipping around, don't go out there, right? You just want to be on the dry stuff, and if that car in front of you is hooked up, then probably follow directly in those train tracks. But you're right, it's actually fourth place right now that has our overall fastest lap time, and really, you compare that to our overall leader, I mean, that was 1.2 seconds faster.
As far as our Caymans go, Anichecki still leads. It's maybe about 3/4 of a second to Jack Perriott. Greg Checky also leads in the Masters class for those cars and is somewhere around 11 seconds ahead of Greg Herbeck. So he's sitting pretty well in that first position. Greg, not really a threat unless we do get bunched up with a yellow or there's a mistake out there. In the meantime, 10 minutes, more like 11 minutes, plus a lap to go. And this might be the first time we've actually had a little bit of calm in this race. It's been just constant action.
You're right. I kind of scanning the sheet here, and it looks like Anna's been able to put about maybe 1 second, 1.2 seconds on her competitor, Jack Perriott, and Jack doesn't have anything to worry about in the mirror in terms of that Cayman GT4 class. And then the Masters class is still pretty spread out as well, with Greg Checky leading the Caymans.
Starting to see some more purple on the screen. This time it's Dusek in Sector 1 coming up through the hill here. Let's see if he can back that up in Sector 2. He's still so far away. As Joey said, it's not likely at this point, but you never know because certain drivers do seem to be stronger. In the meantime, watching Jim Walsh behind Dusek as well on our screens, and still, we have a lot of moisture on the cameras out here. So they are no doubt continuing to walk a tightrope on this dry line.
I think I saw some of these Caymans here on the front straightaway. I think that's the number 44 that was right behind Jack Perriott. So it's actually a non-issue as one of these Cup cars is going to slip down the inside here, try to pass some multi-class traffic as they go around some of the slower corners here on this racetrack. However, that is a pass for position. I believe that Greg Checky was able to get by Jack Perriott in kind of that scrum down there in turn number 2.
Interesting. So, again, that doesn't affect Greg Checky personally, other than separate himself from Herback.
And you know what? I thought it was the yellow and white car, but it seems like it was Tom Rogers, that lapped car, making his way through. That was the number 44. Missed call on my part.
Yeah, there's definitely some similarly painted cars out in these classes that can catch us off guard. So Greg Checky stays in third overall in the Caymans, but is still leading in that Masters category. I'm looking, and if I'm seeing this right, Perriott's still way behind, or is now way behind on Anicheki.
And that all happened on this lap on the front straightaway going into turn number 2. Remember, I had said that that Cup car was getting down the inside, and then he also kind of had that little battle with Tom Rogers. So it's exactly what Jack Perriott did not want to happen. He was only about 1, maybe 1.2 seconds behind Anna, but you're right. Now it's definitely ballooned up to about 5 seconds.
And you always talk about, that there's something to be found in every race. There are lessons to be learned in all of this. Frankly, I'm impressed with Jack Perriott and the way that he has just shown a real fighting spirit in this race.
100%, and I think he proved it yesterday standing on that Pro-Am podium as well. I was noticing a move from Brandon Hankins on Jake Chu going down into what was turn number 10 on this racetrack. Here they are going down into the Andretti hairpin. Jake Chu was extremely impressive yesterday. Remember, it was pretty much his first competitive road race out there, and he ended up second. And I think the only driver to really outperform him was Brandon Hankins, who kind of got choked up on the start a little bit. But, I mean, talk about a hard charger making so many clean passes. It was very unfortunate to see kind of the pace lap today and Hankins kind of be put in the same position.
Well, and I'm trying to figure out the difference in points between where they sit now, which is going to be third and fourth if they finish where they are. Hanley third, Hankins fourth. Remember, it was Hankins that took the points lead with his win yesterday, but that's with Hanley finishing third. So this is a bit of a different scenario. I'm not sure if Hanley would take the points back.
That is interesting as well, and you're asking a commentator to do math, which is never a good idea. But you mentioned those two championship rivals. This race is not over, right? We've got 6.5 minutes plus a lap, and I actually see Hankins right on the back of Daniel Hanley. He's only maybe 0.9 of a second, so I do think that Hankins has a little bit more performance. This could be that race, that you go out there and say, hey, is this the championship winner where you don't win on your best days, you win on your worst days?
Exactly. So, I mean, this has big implications. Hankins is no doubt aware of this as he starts to approach him, and he's even our fastest of anybody in the 992s with a 27.4 last time by. The bit is between his teeth.
That is 0.6 faster than anybody else on this racetrack. That is the white, red, and black number 295, sitting in 8th overall. He is hunting Daniel Hanley down, and I think right in front of Hanley as well is actually a couple positions. So Brandon Hankins sees a couple cars right in front of him that are worth points.
You can see the flashing of the lights from our overall leader is now stuck behind those GT4s. Blend has now been caught by Belomo, held up through the corkscrew. Could this be the opportunity that Chris needs to try and get by him, try to take a win on his return? He looks underneath the car as Blend managed to get through, but not Chris.
Yeah, now Chris is going to be able to outbrake, or is he? I believe that's Greg Herback, who's sitting in second place in that Masters Cayman class. So now Chris Belomo free and clear on the front straightaway, but what was maybe a half a car length gap at the corkscrew is now about 20 car lengths.
Interesting stuff. Walsh also in a hurry to get by. Looks like Dusek managed to sneak through there. things suddenly thrown on their head at the front of the field. And, man, that is so much closer than what we saw before. It was 7 seconds last we looked between P2 and P3 in the GT3 Cup cars. And now it's down to 4 seconds. Less than that, 3 seconds between Dusek and Belomo.
Looks like some interesting battles. I also want to give a shout out to Tim Smith, who's sitting in third place overall in the Cayman GT4s. He had a really good run yesterday, but actually had to start at the back of the field here today. So Tim has made some tremendous passes, and he's trying to work his way back up one more spot on the podium. He currently sits in third in that Masters class right now. Yes,
a good, quiet response to his issues yesterday, and managing to potentially get himself a podium here if he can hold on to it to the end. Only 4 minutes plus a lap to go to wrap this one up. Now they've caught up to Greg Checky, have our leaders, and are trying to put some distance on him. But this time, Chris Belomo manages to get by before the final turn.
That's crucial. That'll put him that little bit closer to Scott Blend up this front straightaway. I see him scream by here with their 500-plus horsepower flat 6 4-liters up to about 150 miles an hour before they jump on the brakes down there. And Belomo was really carving the inside of that Andretti hairpin. I feel like Chris is probably a little bit faster here in sector number 1. And you had made the comment that, Scott Blend was talking about the corkscrew, but he actually has the purple sector 3 here in this race. So I think he probably went back and reviewed that data and picked some speed up.
Good point. And that's one of the strengths of Blend, is he's always learning. He's always analyzing his racing. Every time I turn around and see him in the hospitality or anything like that, he's got his laptop open and he's reviewing data. But looks like he's got a little bit of distance now, about 0.4 of a second over Chris Belomo. He has found himself up against a pretty hefty rival.
And this is definitely the best fight on the racetrack. And, oh, my goodness, maybe he hasn't quite figured out the corkscrew. There's a big wiggle down through the downhill section. Chris Belomo is on the attack, right on the back bumper of our overall leaders. They feed their way into what is turn number 11. He thought about taking a look. Blend went defensive.
He almost had to go defensive now. He knows that he is under threat. Time is ticking down. This is the time for Belomo to get more aggressive. He is still right on top of him. They flash by through turn 1, down into the Andretti hairpin. Question is, can he make the pass? As they come up into there, he's going to look around the outside, but no dice.
That was a tense moment there for Scott Blend. Kind of had to go a little bit defensive into turn number 11, went defensive into turn number 2. Oh, and here we go. Belomo's taking a look to the inside of turn number 4. Looks like we've got a new race leader. If the 245 can hang on, Scott Blend trying to do an over-under.
He cuts back on him and coming down into the inside of turn 5. No, he can't do it. Belomo holds that lead solidly. He is going to have to fight back, but all this fighting has meant that Dusek is now a mere second behind. This could be a 3-way or even a 4-way battle.
That third and fourth place car, we had been talking about it. They have been faster than our overall leaders, and now they have officially ate up that 7.5 second gap between them. Can Dusek in that orange 251 go up there and take second place away from Scott Blend, who has led all of this race except for this lap? It is slipping through his fingertips.
It is going to be 2 laps to go at the line. Remember, it is 35 minutes plus 1 lap, so they'll get the white flag once the clock has hit 0 here. They'll now flash past that flag stand. 1, 2, 3, 4, all separated by a mere 2 seconds.
I love this, and they are all Masters class cars, so this is all for those points positions as Chris Belomo maybe a little bit deep on the brakes, but is able to gather it back up in the second half of that apex there. He is starting to pull away from Scott Blend, so now Scott has to worry about what's in his rearview mirror, and that is the bright orange number 251. You know that he wants those positions. He's ate up all of that track position. He's finally got to the front. Can he make the pass done?
Dusek had to miss out on some racing last season. He comes back here to try and pick it back up. And I'd say this is a fantastic return in that Charlie Hayes Racing machine. As they come up through turn 6, he is still right behind. There are no mistakes that can be allowed for any of these drivers. You open the door, somebody's going to get their foot in.
Scott Blend had a personal best sector number 1 there, so he is definitely trying to answer this pass that just happened for the lead. He's trying to get back up there. He's trying to defend from that orange number 251 as they feed their way down into turn number 10. You see Chris Belomo still holding about a 5-car length gap over Scott Blend, who's got maybe 2 car lengths over Dusek as we accelerate out onto the front straightaway.
There's the white flag. 1 to go. Who is going to come away with this victory in the Masters class? Still only split by now less than 2 seconds between all of them. Dusek has been getting ever closer, even took a peek into the corkscrew on Scott Blend. He knows he's got the pace. He gains some more time down into turn 1. He is pressurizing him.
He saw that Chris Belomo made a pass right here in turn number 4, but he's going to stay in line, see if he can capitalize maybe on the exit. Remember, we saw that black 245 very wiggly coming out of the corkscrew in that loose type of condition. Dusek, I'm sure, saw that as well. He's just trying to get himself that little bit closer, and don't count out Jim Walsh. We know he can make some aggressive moves. I'm sure he'd love to stand on the podium.
Through one of the most difficult parts. That's a bit wide there from Scott Blend out of turn 6. That's going to make him slow. Are we going to get some side-by-side coming up into the corkscrew? It's going to have to be around the outside from Dusek. He tries to cut down into it, and he is through.
What a move from Dusek. He capitalized on the mistake from Scott Blend in turn number 6. And now, does Scott have an answer? It looks like Chris Belomo handily has this one out in front. He's got one more brake zone remaining to claim the first victory.
Former champion returns to try and show he hasn't lost it, and Chris Belomo answers them as he gets back in the race car and wins at only his 2nd try here at Laguna Seca.
And what a drive from Dusek, coming back from 7.5 seconds to take the pass in 2nd overall. We're waiting on Conley right now. That is our 992 GT3 Cup Pro-Am victory right there for the 299.
Fantastic race for Conley. Now we look for Anna Checki, who still leads in the Caymans. Greg Checki takes the victory for the Cayman Masters. Her back with an excellent 2nd place, and Smith comes back with a 3rd. Since they did not get lapped, we get an extra lap around for both Anna and Jack, so that one's not over, but there is some distance between them.
Krigler crosses the line in 10th place overall as Tom Rogers is probably going to look back on this weekend and have a few things to definitely learn, as looks like Anna Checki still going to be rounding out the final corner here to take her Pro-Am class victory. I do see that she's about 4 seconds ahead of Jack Perriott right now, so as long as she keeps it clean, she should collect that checkered flag.
I'm just holding off, making sure that we get the call right here on her as we watch out our window to see if she will collect her 2nd win in 2 days. Finally getting over on that. And there she is now, a win for Anna Checki here today in the Cayman Pro-Ams. So your finishing results sees Chris Belomo take the win, with Matt Dusek finishing in 2nd ahead of Scott Blend with a last lap pass. Jim Walsh is going to finish in 4th. Your top 4 only had 1.1 seconds between them. Conley wins in your Pro-Am category. Wilgus with a great 2nd place down there. Hanley recovers into 3rd and does beat Hankins. I don't have the points ahead of me, but boy, it's going to be close going into the last weekend at Road Atlanta. Hankins finishes 4th in that class. Jake Chu comes back and finds it a little challenging in the wet conditions, but still gets a top 5, with Krigler finishing 6th in that class. And then 5th in the Masters was Kia Ketty, rounding out our 11 GT3 Cup cars.
And then for the Cayman GT4 results, it is Anna Checki, your Pro-Am class victory. Jack Perriott is going to be 2nd in class there. And then Greg Checki returns to the top step, 1st in that Masters class, 3rd overall. Greg Herback in 4th place with Tim Smith following in 5th place in that Cayman GT4 class. Tom Rogers going to finish in 6th. Henry Marshall 7th. And Paul Bonderson, that 8th place car that unfortunately did not start today.
We do have our podium ceremonies coming up shortly, so if you want to join us, we'll have some more fun before we wrap up this weekend in Porsche Sprint Challenge, so don't go away.
All right, you need hard-working tires for a hard-earned victory. Firestone tires for driving IndyCar legends.
Experience the ultimate thrill, Porsche GT Track Day, where passion meets performance on some of North America's most legendary racetracks. Designed exclusively for Porsche owners, this is your chance to unleash the full potential of your vehicle in a motorsport environment. Drive the same circuits as professional racers, on the same weekend as Porsche Sprint Challenge events. Where will your Porsche take you? With limited space, every Porsche GT Track Day ensures a premium, exclusive experience. You'll get nearly 3 hours of track time, starting with reconnaissance laps, progressing through lead-follow sessions, and culminating in exhilarating open laps. Plus, strap in for heart-pounding hot laps with a professional race driver.
I thought I was fast. Didn't resemble anything that I've ever done.
Beyond the track, immerse yourself in VIP hospitality, premium viewing areas, and exclusive paddock access where you can witness Porsche Sprint Challenge teams in action. Spots are limited. Scan the QR code now to reserve your place at Porsche GT Track Day.
It's hard to contain your excitement when you get something you've really wanted. Like the gold standard in automotive protection, WeatherTech floor liners. With deep sculpted channels and laser measured for total protection in the front, back, and even up the sides.
Dad, you're going viral.
What? WeatherTech me.
So don't be shy, enjoy. Order your premium American-made products at WeatherTech.com.
Well, Tim, I'll come up here and we'll start with you. What a redemption drive. You had to start all the way in the back and you made your way to the podium.
Yeah. So I want to start by thanking God for this day. We're so fortunate to be able to come out here and do this. And number 2, right behind, is BR Racing. Man, we went through so many issues this weekend. We had changed our transmission last night. The guys finished up at 2:30 this morning. And they still met me at the car at 6:30 this morning. Just amazing. So thankful for being here. Thanks for everybody for coming out. Appreciate it.
Congrats on the 3rd place. And Greg Herback, you get to stand on the podium here today. This one's got to feel special.
Yeah, this is great. I'm going to ditto what Tim said. The team is great. It takes a team to do it. And Tatum Racing is just like right behind me. It's awesome. And my spotter was just like spot on. It was slick out there.
Congrats on the 2nd place here today. And Greg, back-to-back on top of the podium. Anna was chasing you. She got by you. But this time, you still stand on top. It's got to feel special.
Oh, it's amazing. I tried to hold her off as long as I could, but she finally just beat me up, and I knew she'd get around. So it was fun watching her and fun finishing the race.
So I got to ask you, did you learn some tips chasing her?
Always. That's just get behind her. I got a rabbit and follow her line.
Congrats on back-to-back wins. Give it up for your Masters class podium.
Let's do the little hat dance, please. And now you can spray some champagne! Congratulations. That's our Cayman Masters, ladies and gentlemen. Give it up one more time. Cutting it through a misty and wet morning. This will take us to the Good Boy Vodka Fastest Lap Award. This goes to the driver of the number 73, Jack Perriott. Awesome job, Jack Perriott, for the Good Boy Vodka Fastest Lap Award. Now we have the Cayman Pro-Ams. Finishing second today in that number 73 machine, it's Jack Perriott. And taking victory not only in the Pro-Ams but overall for the Caymans is the 27 of Anna Checky.
Well, Jack, you've now made it 2 second places here in the Pro-Am class, but today's conditions were pretty tricky out there.
Yeah, it definitely got pretty slippery, something I'm not used to, so it was a lot of fun to see something new.
And you were also kind of caught up in some mixed class traffic as well. How unnerving was that with all those cup cars mixed in with you?
It was interesting. Turn 1 and turn 2 off the start got a little hairy, but it was fun, something new.
Great job out there on the second place. And Anna, back-to-back victories just like your dad. You feel happy? You got a big smile on your face.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited, as you can imagine, but it was a good race. It was fun with the wet track, mix it up a little bit, a little chaotic.
So I got to ask you, Virginia International Raceway a couple weeks ago, Laguna Seca this weekend. You're ready for a couple weeks at Road America?
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it.
Congrats on the back-to-back victories here. Give it up for your Pro-Am podium.
And now they get to spray a little champagne. That's the Cayman Pro-Ams putting on a fantastic show, both races this weekend. Up next, we have the 992 Masters. Finishing third today, driving the 245, it's Scott Bland. And with a last lap pass to take second place, the driver of the number 252, Matt Dusek. And what a return for our former champion. First place goes to the 286 of Chris Palomo.
Scott, we're going to start with you over here in third place. Now, you had control over the majority of that race, but it just kind of seemed to unravel for you.
Yeah, it kind of went away late. I had a really good car early, and, late it kind of started to drizzle again, and things kind of went away. I think I was showing a lot of respect to the kink, number 6 up there, and, it probably could have gotten on the curves as Chris and I were talking, but anyway, it was a good race, and I think we wrapped up the West, so things are good.
Great job on the third place here. Let's go over here to Matt Dusek. Now, I think you had one heck of a drive. I think it was about an 8-second gap that you ate up, and you found your way up into second place on those last couple laps. What a drive.
Thank you very much. It was fabulous. It was fun. What a great team to drive for, and fabulous competitors. Really great time out there with everyone.
Great job on the second place. And Chris, let me hop up here with you. You took a little bit of a gap out of racing last year, and now you're back, and you're on the top step. Your familiar place.
Yeah, it was a great weekend. Hats off to Scott, who's always a pleasure to race with, super fair, and Matt was absolutely fantastic today. I think he would have caught me in a couple laps, but super happy to have my family here and to be racing with Charlie Hayes Racing. So I'm happy to be back, and we'll see what the future holds.
Well, you say you're happy to be back. The big question is, are you coming back later in the year?
I gotta make a decision over the next week, I think, before the season gets too old. But thanks.
Well, congrats on the first place here. Give it up for your Masters class podium.
And I know we're a little moist already, but why don't we spray some champagne? Let's hear it one more time for the 992 Masters podium finishers. 1.1 seconds between the top 4 at the end of that race. That was quite the show. Next, we have the Apex Award. This goes to the hardest charger of the race. Today, that's going to go to the driver of the 299. It's Josh Conley. Congratulations, Josh Conley, winner of today's Apex Award. Last but not least, we have the 992 Pro-Ams. Starting with third place, it's the driver of the 243, Daniel Hanley. P2 was the number 250, Mark Wilgus. And a great win in tricky conditions for the 299 Josh Conley.
Well, Daniel, we'll go ahead and start with you here in third place. Now, it's a good performance. You get to spray some champagne, but more importantly, you finished in front of your championship contender, Brandon Hankins.
I did, yeah, and I think it's important for me to keep that in perspective. I struggled a bit with the conditions more than I feel I should have, but overall, it was a good race for me in the broad scheme of things. Big thank you to my family all coming out to support me. Huge thank you to everyone on the team. I really appreciate it. So thank you guys.
Great job on the third place. And we'll come over here to Mark Wilgus. It's good to have you spraying some champagne here today. It was tricky conditions, but you were able to hang on to it.
Yeah, I spun the car on the first formation lap in 6. I was like, whoa, it's pretty slick out here, but sort of found a little rhythm, and yeah, I'm really happy with second.
Great job on the second place, and we'll jump up here with Josh Conley. This is a redemption drive from yesterday. You weren't standing here, but now you get to spray that champagne.
Yeah, I'm excited and feel like I got a monkey off my back, and want to thank the BR family, Sam for giving me the car from Peels, and of course my big sponsor, Next Gen.
And of course, does this give you some momentum here going into the last couple races of the year?
I hope so. I mean, I came here to try to boost some confidence, and yesterday didn't help, and today's fantastic.
Great job to finish on the top step. Give it up for your Pro-Am podium.
Let's swap those hats out, please. Hold up those trophies, please. And now, one last time, let's spray some champagne! A great job by our 992 Pro-Am winners. That's going to wrap up the racing for the Porsche Sprint Challenge USA West Series. For those of you here at the track, we've got plenty more action to come. But we'll see you in Road Atlanta in a few weeks' time. Until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.